Hi, and welcome to my fourth column for iBass magazine on time, feel and groove. So in the first episode we looked at general subdivision concepts. The second episode we looked at the eighth note or quaver subdivision. Last time we looked at the triplet bass subdivision, and this time it's a term of 16th notes or semiquavers. So all along I've been saying how important it is that you address the subdivision constantly, that you have a constant reference point that is maintained throughout your performance, whether you're playing or not. So what we're going to do is work on various exercises today to do the same thing but with 16th note count. So what we do is take the 8th note subdivision that we had, which went 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we just divide this in half again. So the actual 1 and the and stay in the same place, but what we add in is an E and an A. So the count for the 16th note subdivision goes 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Okay, now to start with, that's quite a mouthful, and like I've said in the past, I'm not trying to tell you that people are on stage or in the studio religiously going 1 E and a, 2 E and a, etc. the whole time. But what that does give us is an accurate way of describing any of the 16 points in the bar now. So you could say to someone else, say, let's play that hit on the E of beat 2. So they know exactly where that is, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, etc. So, but in reality and in practice, there's nothing wrong with referring to that or changing that into a different form of vocalization that you might find easier, something just like going or whatever it is, you just need to have this constantly running in your mind. And like I said, to start with, a really good way of testing yourself on that is to vocalize that out loud. So for these exercises, I'll be doing the 1 E and a, 2 E and a, but if you have a different version of that, that's fine. So to start with, actually just taking a click and subdividing it evenly into 4 can be quite challenging if you've not done this before, trying to get them even. So something that takes a little bit of time to get used to. And obviously we'll do that on the bass, and I'll sort of show you the exercises we're doing with that. But I'd also like to say these sort of things, you can really learn a lot and develop a lot when you're away from your bass. If you have these things just running around in your head, I feel like I've sort of made some of the biggest headway with this sort of thing, even if I'm just driving a car or walking down the road. If you've got that kind of thing running around in your mind and you're trying to vocalize and internalize it, it really becomes something that you feel rather than just something you can do on an intellectual level. So just try and get that, try and get that evenly dividing into 4 thing going on. Something I found really helpful with that is to use one of those egg shakers, the percussion instrument, because it's really good to try and get your whole body into that feel, into the subdivision. So you're going jack, jack, jack. You've got to move, and it's quite hard to start with. But like I said, these are really good ways of actually internalizing and trying to make these like an inward feel thing, rather than just kind of an intellectual kind of brain just sort of moving your fingers at the appropriate time. It becomes something that's coming from within, which I think is going to be better for you in the long run. So when we're playing it on the bass, use 2 fingers, obviously try and evenly divide the workload, and we want to try and get it consistent and smooth and very accurate, obviously. So start at a really easy tempo, like 55 beats per minute or 60 beats per minute, and like I said before, it really helps if you vocalize, say the subdivision out loud, and tap your foot on the beat. So I'm just going to try that with a click to give you the idea. So we're going vocalize 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Okay, so like I said, it can be quite hard to start with. Things that you can do that would help, you could accent the first of each group of 4 to really make sure you're in line with the click. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a, that sort of thing. And if you're struggling again with that, you can play along with drum loops. That can be a good way of doing it, particularly if you've got one where you've got the hi-hats, be playing with both hands, semiquavers, that sort of thing can be really useful. It really helps to make make it obvious whether you're being accurate or not. So by all means try that, but what I would say is don't rely on that for too long. You want to kind of be able to provide that subdivision yourself. So having a backing track or a drum loop that's got hi-hats and lots of nice accents and everything is good, but it is kind of a bit of a safety net, so you can find yourself relying on that a bit. So try and wean yourself off that once you get comfortable with it, and if you can make it sound and feel good just with this sort of kind of cold crotchet click, if you can make it sound good then that's a really good thing. There is actually another kind of thing you can try, again, like as a bit of a halfway step between maybe a drum loop and the regular click, is you could use a click at twice the speed, so at 120 beats per minute, because that will give you the quaver click, and then you wouldn't have such a big gap between each click to subdivide. But ultimately what we're going to work on is just getting that feel consistent at a speed like 55 or 60. It takes a bit of time, but something you can work on. So what we can look at now is some specific exercises I've got that are designed to strengthen and kind of test your sense of the subdivision that I hope you find useful. So the first exercise is designed to help you pinpoint each of the notes in the 16th note subdivision and really zoom in on those beats and really address your accuracy and your level of familiarity with each of those notes. So what we'll do to start with is we'll take each of the 4 semiquavers within one beat and we'll deal with each of them in turn. And the way I'm going to do this is I'll play the exercise, the notes on beat 1 and on beat 3, and we'll rest on beat 2 and beat 4. Gives us ourselves a chance to recover and keep things going. So the important thing with this obviously is if you address the subdivision constantly, even when you're not playing, if you're vocalizing it out loud and you're tapping your foot, then that means there's absolutely no guesswork involved. You've got a constant reference point, a constant grid to refer to, and really it's almost impossible to play out of time, hopefully. So so the first bar is just the notes on the beat, on beat 1 and beat 3, and then I displace those 2 notes so they're a semiquaver later, like I've done in previous columns. So the second bar, they're on the E, the second semiquaver, so it's 1 E and then 3 E, and then it's on the and then on the A. So with each of these, I'd really encourage you to loop the one bar round and round until you really feel comfortable and absolutely secure with each of those. So you don't want to be kind of snatching at any of the notes or feeling unrelaxed about any of it. It should be effortless. You just carry on going and play any of those notes. So if you find yourself kind of stuttering or kind of snatching at these notes, then really slow it down, turn the click off and keep going round and round that bar till you find it's exactly locked in. One of these, the last one, just as a personal note, is the one I find the hardest, is the last semiquaver of each beat. So when you're hitting the 1 E and A. So with that one, something that helped me that may help you with that is that I kind of think of it, I sort of focus very strongly on the first 3 semiquavers that you're not playing. So I'm really thinking of 1 E and A, so the d, d, ga. So I relate it to the first 3 semiquavers rather than thinking of it as the last semiquaver before the next beat, like immediately before beat 2 or immediately before beat 4. I kind of really have to focus in on those first 3 semiquavers, the 1, E, and then hit A. So dug, ga, dug, ga. So see how you get on with that. So again, when you're playing this, keep your foot tapping and saying the subdivision out loud. Okay, for exercise 1A, I took each of those 4 16th note placements and I turned them into a bass line. So just something you can try yourself. If you're comfortable with these, see if you can play this one or make up one of your own. You'll notice I changed the order of them around slightly, just I prefer the sound of it musically. But I thought it'd be a good way of hearing it in the context of a bass line and maybe try and get across the kind of sound of each of those rhythms a bit more strongly. See how you get on. One thing you might notice with this is the length of the notes that I'm playing. Note length has a big effect on the feel of any groove really, and especially this sort of thing. And that's something I want to get back to in detail, which I'll do in a later column. Okay, here it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and 2 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Okay, for exercise 1B, I've taken each of those 4 semiquaver placements and just tried to make a bass line out of it, just so that you can hear them in a musical setting and maybe might help you to focus in on the personality of each of those notes and how they fall on the beat. And it's a nice little challenge you can set yourself as well. You notice I changed the order of them around slightly. It's just a little riff to try out, see how you get on. One thing you may notice with this is the length of the notes. This has quite a dramatic effect, and actually it's something I really want to get into in a future column. But yeah, see what you think about that for now. So, okay, here it comes. So. For exercise 2, we're using the same idea, addressing each of the 4 semiquavers within one beat, but I'm going to play 2 notes. So I'm going to cycle through these. Again, I'll play them on beat 1 and beat 3, and I'll just play them for 1 bar each, but I'd really recommend that you loop this round and round until you feel really comfortable with each of those rhythms and you've really got into the sound of them and the feel of them. Yeah, so I'll just loop these, like I said, just one bar per time, but again, keep the subdivision going and your foot tapping. Okay, here it comes. So. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Okay, for exercise 2B, I've done a similar thing to 1B. I've tried to put those 4 different rhythms into a little bass riff, a kind of musical example. Again, try this out for yourself and see how you get on. So it goes like this. All right. Exercise 3A, same sort of thing again, this time with 3 notes per beat and the different combinations of that. Okay, here it comes. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So for exercise 3B, same sort of thing. I'm putting into a creative context, into a bass line. Now with these rhythms, because there's 3 notes per beat, they're quite hectic sounding. So to start with, the first version of this bass line has a rest in between each of the rhythm units. So on beats 2 and beats 4, like we did for the first exercises, just so that you can hear the character of each of those rhythm units in kind of isolation. And then actually I'll go into a different bass line where I do use them every beat, each of those 4 different varieties. So see how you get on with that. And by all means, you know, try this idea out yourself. And writing your own bass lines in this way and see how you get on. Okay, here it comes. Okay, thanks for getting to the end of all that. I hope you found that useful. So next time what I'm going to look at, now that we've addressed all the different main types of subdivision, we're going to look at changing subdivisions and exercises you can do with that really help develop your sense of time and your rhythmic security. Other things we're going to look at further down the line, rhythmic groupings, polyrhythms, swing, different types of shuffle rhythms, something I mentioned today, note lengths, different forms of muting, all those things that can really help you work on and develop your sense of time, feel and groove. So Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.